This Real Agriculture podcast is brought to you by Genesis Fertilizers. Nitrogen fertilizer is your farm's #1 expense. Farmers are working together through Genesis Fertilizers to solve the problem of high prices and security of supply by planning a state-of-the-art nitrogen plant. Security and earnings through ownership is the solution. Visit Genesis today at genesisfertilizers.com to learn more.
At Manitoba Ag Days in Brandon, I'm Kelvin Hepner, and pleased to be joined by Brunel and Jen Sabourin of Antara Agronomy. They one of the winners here in the Innovators Showcase at Ag Days. And Jen, why don't we start with you? Fill us in on what Antara is offering now in terms of the product that you've entered here at Ag Days.
Sure, we entered our agronomy benchmarking program. So really what we're taking a look at is taking farmers' data, all their production decisions that they're making, and we're putting it into a database where we can compare anonymously farmers against, the group averages, and we really want to see if there's any trends, and we can get some nutrient trend lines from like the soil sample results, and we want to take a look at, like I said, trends where we can maybe make decisions or like things that we should do or things that we should stop doing. Yeah.
So Brunel, this would be, farmers I think are familiar with benchmarking in other parts of their farm business, maybe not on the agronomy side of things?
Yeah, right. It's been slow to adopt on the agronomy side of things because the weather plays such a variable in determining what your final yields are going to be. And it's been doing that for 5,000 years since the glaciers retreated, right? Like when we're thinking in terms of soil texture and topography and where the water is most available, which parts of the field get more water. So when it comes to the agronomy benchmarking, it makes it very tough to compare farms on a wide geography. So our approach to our agronomy benchmarking program has been more small data before big data. So we're comparing small geographies so we can better compare apples to apples, and we're looking at integrating actually a private weather network to feed more data into the system that we can get better understanding of what is driving the yields and why some fields either do better than others. And yeah, so far it's been a very positive thing, and lots of farmers in the group are very interested in learning more, and they all have this data, they just don't know what to do with it, so we're giving them more value by, instead of relying on coffee shop talk, now they're feeding the right data into their real numbers that we can then make actionable results. And
increasing the sample size beyond just your farm and your one experience per year kind of thing. Now you get to share with many other farmers that are part of this platform as well.
Absolutely. So what we're trying to do is we've been working with farmers within our client group, so within a 20-30 mile radius. But now what we're looking to do is we're trying to get out and have sort of like a spoken wheel aspect where we can start to have like other groups set up so they can then compare within their own geographies, like have these townships over here, because we know that weather's very variable. It's not going to be the same 30, 40, 50 miles away. So, and some farmers might farm 30 miles, between some fields, so they may want to compare themselves to the group that's in that area. And again, it's all anonymous, so you'll see the data from your fields, your field names, but nobody else will see it. So like Bruce said, it's getting rid of that coffee shop talk and really having real data to compare yourself to.
So is this a platform that farmers can open up in terms of an app or software, or what does it actually look like in terms of the interface with the farmers that are participating and our customers?
So right now it's very intensive in terms of getting the information into it. It's all pivot tables and spreadsheets, but our goal is to take it now and start looking, is there somebody we can partner with that we can bolt this onto that already has an existing farm GIS platform of some sort, or is it a software that we can develop on our own? Because that's something that can be scaled. So if there's other consultants that have groups of clients that would like to use this, how we've organized the information, and it's something that they can take from there. So you can almost say it's a franchise or a software as a service that we can take and look at all these different groups. And
what are some of the main data points that you are collecting in terms of the variables that you're looking at that you could potentially develop benchmarks or recommendations from?
We take a look at seeding dates, crop rotation. Can we switch our rotations that we get better yields just by having a different rotation? We don't know until we analyze that. different nitrogen sources, timing, application. We can take a look at the different varieties. We have market share by different varieties and how are those performing. We can take a look at seed treatments. You name it, we can collect it. Absolutely.
As many variables as we can measure, I guess, in farming.
It's a lot of basic data, the same thing that we would submit to crop insurance in terms of what your fertility practices are, what your yields are, varieties, seeding dates, that kind of stuff. So it's something that we said, okay, we've got to start somewhere, so let's start with this. But in the future, we want to start looking at, okay, the soil types or land variability, production capacity, that kind of stuff. So we're also looking at putting in the weather data, but also doing simple crop budgeting. So we might assign a generic price to a ton of urea or to a jug of chemical or to a bag of seed, depending on the variety and what crop protection products we're using. But then we can start saying, okay, which combination of inputs and best management practices are giving us the best returns. And long term down the road, maybe it gets tied into full farm financials. So then we have a complete program from A to Z for farmers to be able to benchmark themselves against other operations and take things to another level.
Brunel, you used the term before, small data before big data. I think I've heard you say that before. Can you explain what you mean by that?
What we mean by small data before big data is looking at things across smaller geographies. So there's no sense comparing a farm in the heart of the Red River Valley against somebody that's out of the valley or in the southwestern corner of Manitoba or even Saskatchewan. I shouldn't say there's no sense. It's a lot harder to make sense of the data because there's so many. It's such a different growing environment. So to be able to address the variability of the weather as much, we're looking at these much smaller pockets. But then, as Jen mentioned, the hub and spoke approach is, as we expand from that core, now we can start saying, okay, this field I want to compare against these guys, not these guys, where we can help compare apples to apples as best we can.
Another thing that we're looking at with using this data is to prove to say maybe lending facilities that, hey, I'm really managing my farm in a very sustainable way, so this maybe can help them get better rates on some loans, or maybe for rented land, they can say, hey, look, I am doing a really good job of, good sustainable management of your farm, so maybe I'm going to get a better rate, or I can re-sign my contract.
A lot of possibilities, I guess, on the environmental and sustainability side of things as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, congratulations again, and good to run into you here in Brandon. Enjoy the rest of Ag Days.
Perfect. Thanks, Kelvin.
Thanks, Kelvin.